Okay. I started this in the end of the last video for going through the SAM application model workshop, and then I stopped and so that we could just do a clean slate here. So on the last module here, and you got to go to the previous videos to see the earlier ones, we're going to talk about some permissions related to what our Lambda functions can do within the context of the toolkit for serverless application model. All right, let's look at what Lambda can or can't do. By default, Lambda functions can write to CloudWatch logs. And I don't see that we're explicitly telling it to create a CloudWatch role, but it says it does it. It creates it, and it'll say something like it creates it implicitly, is what they're going to say. We've got a function, permissions, configuration. Let's see. It says you can go through and see what we created. So even though in this file it had some code for creating the Lambda function resource, it doesn't say in here anything about creating a role for it. So this is like one of those weird time-saving things about SAM. So if we come over to our account then, and we find, well, let's see, which we could look at a lot of different ones. So I'll just click on any of these stacks here, and I've got my resources. And if I were to find any of my functions, so these are my actual Lambda functions, and if I go over under configuration, then let's see, where's my permissions? And I have a role that was created, basically a permission, and it's allowed to basically write to CloudWatch. So I'm going to click over to this particular permission, and it's been given this set of permissions right here, these actions that relate to writing to the CloudWatch service, interacting with it. And you might need more expansive permissions than that. This is true. You might want to talk to dynamoDB or something else. Like, there we go, dynamoDB. So how would you do that? Actually, let's see what it's going to say here. To allow the Lambda function to access dynamoDB, you need to augment the function in template.yaml, give it some permissions. To demonstrate the various options for specifying permissions, you will update the sample app so that it reads and writes from and to a DynamoDB table. So if you had three different functions, you could have um, roles associated with each function related to doing different things in DynamoDB. Now, so far we've only had one Lambda function, but they're saying under proper permissioning, you would only give the Lambda function the permission it needs. So if you have a function for writing, allow it to write but not read. If you have a function for reading, allow it to read everything but not write. If you have a function that's only allowed to read one item specific that you have to pass an argument to, then give it a permission that allows it to do that, but not scan the whole table. So you can get granular with your permissions. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Run the following command to scaffold a new project. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're going to do this from scratch, apparently. So even though we've got all this other great stuff out there, we're going to do a new one. Um, there's another quick start template that you will use for this module. All right, let's do this then. Um, so I'm going to, let's see, create a folder. And so I've got SAM1 right now. Since we're about to do something else, let's go new folder and I'll just call it SAM2. Don't have to, but all right. And then I'm going to find a terminal window, and here's this. So I'll CD into SAM2, and then I'm going to type in the command SAM init, and it wants us to learn something new this time. It says, let's play with Do not use the shortcut to the latest path. Okay, in the wizard, select quick start templates. Ooh, cool. Oh yeah, I know where this is going. This is awesome. And then select serverless API. Let's see if we can find this in there. Okay, number 7. Okay, so before we just had like a hello world one. This is like basically the start of a microservice. They're like, okay, this one's going to give you the Lambda function plus the API gateway plus DynamoDB. Yeah. Okay, so the code is already there. Do not use the latest Python version. No. And select a modern node. I'm with you. Do you want X tracing? No. See, I'm like feeling pumped now because I know what they're doing. Do you want to enable monitoring? No. Would you like structured logging? No. Don't care. And it said leave it as SAM app, which I'm not sure if that's safe because we already have a SAM app, but um, just as a safety thing, because I don't know, I can't remember. Oh, it says that we got to deploy it. I don't think this is going to work if we already have a SAM app up there. Oh, I'm just worried about breaking it. You should see a SAM app folder with scaffolding. Oh, and it's got some great code in there. Next, you're going to deploy. Missing, blah, 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 blah. I don't think this is going to work. Sorry, this is like the silliest thing to say, but um, this is going to be problematic because we already have SAM app. So, I mean, I'll try it, but okay, supposedly it's there. And okay, so I supposedly it's there. And let me go ahead and take my VS Code. No, not that. Let's go take my VS Code and I want to file, open folder, and I want to go to SAM2. And this new one has, let's look at our source code. We've got all kinds of great code for interacting with DynamoDB. And if you've done it before, the code looks familiar. If you haven't done it before, then this will not look familiar to you. But there's like a bunch of different functions for doing that. Yippee. Wonder what's over here. We've got for this function, we've got a get function, we've got a get by ID function, we got a put function. Oh, and it's got like these Dynamo policies in there. So it's talking about like what permissions it's going to have for each function. And so what these words are, we're actually going to update them. These are, again, shortcuts for creating sophisticated policies around our Lambda functions. So cool. All right. And I don't think, again, I'm not sure this is going to actually work. So I'm in this folder because we already have something called SAM app. So I will say SAM build. Oh, okay, CD SAM app. SAM build. Bum ba da bum. I think it's got a, well, let's see. Earlier we prepared the container image needed to run this stuff. So let's see what we got this time. Okay, SAM deploy hyphen hyphen guided. Okay. Oh, make sure to answer yes to the questions about. Huh. Doesn't really tell you what to do here. It just says do this again. Hmm. I just suspect that it might not work if I have two stacks up there that have the same name. So I'll do SAM app 2. There we go. Just to be sure. Um, confirm changes. No. Yeah. No. We'll say yes. No authentication. Yes, we're okay with that. Yes. Save a file. Okay, it's going to go out there. It's going to create a bucket. And after a little while, after it creates stuff, we will get basically the last thing that's going to show up is outputs, and it's going to show us the URL for what we just created. We can visit that URL. What's the stack name going to be? It's going to be SAM app 2 in this case because of the way that I did it. So if you were to copy and paste it the way that I did, you're going to have to change that little part to SAM app 2. All right, let me just hit pause for a second while it finishes up. All right, so it says that has been successfully created. And let me just go ahead and copy that and paste it in. But remember, I called the stack uh, SAM app 2. When's it going to get to the right part? Okay, SAM app 2. Okay, it's called endpoint. That's what it's creating. And so let's test it. So we'll say curl/s endpoint. And let's see what it returns for us. It returns an empty array. But actually, what it just did is super amazing because, um, anyway, so curl is basically like visiting something in the browser window. So but we can use curl to emulate HTTP posts and stuff like that as well. So that's like super awesome because sometimes we need that. Okay, let's add some data. Sweet. So check that out. Do a post to that URL and send it these JSON pieces of information. So paste, oops, sorry. Am I in the right spot? Yeah. Okay, now these funky return messages are in fact a good thing. It means stuff is there. Um, now it says use the get all items API to see the items that you just added. So copy, paste. Ooh. And let's look at it up here as well. So using curl, we were able to do a post which added things through the API. Well, basically through the API just means that there were some functions on the back end that were ready to receive some JSON documents, and now we're just displaying those back out to the page. But it's pretty cool because we had a quick starter template that was like locked and loaded and ready for us to start programming an API with. Um, let's see. You could fetch individual elements. Oh, yeah. Hey, look at that. So basically, based on what you add to the URL, the API gateway will redirect to a different function. So if we do this, whoops. Okay, that was silly. Let's try that again. Um, all right, we're gonna go add ID1 to it, and it just pulled back one record. So if you look through all the code in API gate, all this configuration code, um, it'll show you that you have three different API URLs that you can call. Um, and technically, we could look that up as well within the console. I just don't know if I want to spend the time to do that because I feel like we've been doing this for forever. API gateway. Let's check our APIs. We've got our SAM app 2, and it shows that under uh, anyway, it's got a get and it's got a forward, there's a get and a post from the plain URL, and then there's a forward slash, and if you enter in an ID, it's going to basically send it to a different backend Lambda function, which is not the point of this whole thing. All right, let's go on to the next part. SAM policy templates are a way to, rescope your functions. So if we come in here, so notice that for one of your functions, the get all items function, that it right now has the DynamoDB CRUD policy, which means it could do create, read, update, delete, and that's not so good. Let's go ahead and make that better. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff to do here. It says take away the CRUD policy by commenting it out. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the policy. Forget all items. So let's see, pound. Okay, you're gone. Okay, next we want to import, Next we want to, that's what you get for having one of these sensitive pads here. So I'm going to put this in the query up at the top. Oh, so let's go to the get all items function, and that's gonna go, oh yeah, so we don't need that one anymore because that's now we're importing two different things. And we got anything else? Oh, let response equal nothing. Further down. So where are we gonna put that? Where's that gonna go? That's gonna go right after params. Says let response equal nothing, and we already got a response. Response. All right, so that's not gonna work. And then we have a try catch. Yeah, this is bananas. Let's just start with let response equals and just get rid of a lot of that stuff. Okay, I think we're good to go. All right, now, ooh, look at this. SAM build and SAM deploy. Okay, let's see what happens now. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. I'm just going to pause for a second. All right, I had to say yes when it asked me if I wanted to deploy or something like that, deploy this chain set, and we're good to go. It's been deployed again, and so let's just see what happens if we visit that URL from the command line. Ooh, it threw an error. Is that what it was supposed to do? Access denied, blah, blah. Yeah, that is what it's supposed to. As expected, get all items throws an error because it no longer has permission to read the DynamoDB file. So let's follow the principle of least privilege and put in the right kind of permission. And so we will say it should be things like DynamoDB read policy. And then this one should be DynamoDB write policy. All right, so let's go through and update things as they need to be. So basically it was the default for what they built for us was a little bit too expansive in its permissions. So if I go undo, and change this to read policy, because this is a get function, And this is also a get function. And this one, we're going to change it to write policy. There we go. Save. And then I think we're going to need that special command again. And then we will have to wait several minutes. And then we can test these items by posting a fourth item to the endpoint. Then we can read back some of the items that are there. And then it shows you that you could read single items, etc., just to show that the permissions are all set properly. All right, let's see where this is. Oh no, I have to say yes. Pause. Unpause. Okay, so first thing we want to do is post, and it gave us a response, which means it worked. So now we should be able to get all of the items. Yay! Or could have, let's see, click back once, refresh. There's all the items using that interface as well. So curl in your browser, they provide similar functionality. And then we can look for a specific item, and that will also work. So if I go ID1, okay, so the point being that we've updated the permissions for each function to only be able to read or write, and now it works like it did before. And so if we were to look for this function, this Lambda function in the Lambda console, we would see a policy associated with it that had a whole bunch of, well, it's got a bunch of writing in there, but it commonsensically, that's not really a word, applies to this particular word that's right there. So you don't have to know a whole ton of stuff about permissioning. You just need to know some basic permission words that have some intuitive sense to you. Again, this is their idea for simplifying development. All right, what do we got? Okay, so it says we did those keywords to give access. We called them SAM policy templates for easy stuff. It says we can put something in line if we wanted to. So we could replace, let's see, dynamoDB read policy. So in the get all items one, we could write it this way as well. Um, so rather than using theirs, this one is again a slightly simplified version of compared to how you would normally do things. So anyway, this is just an alternative. You give it a name, and it'll be listed within the IAM portion of your AWS console if you do this. And this is, anyway, this is their syntax for doing that if you want to put it in line. I'm not sure that I want to do that. It just does the same thing. Um, you can, provide some permissions for, looks like we can go beyond that and do another policy that allows it for viewing logs, but I don't think I want to add and write that in there. You can also reference a pre-existing one that's already in there, and that's the syntax for doing that. So again, if you have a particular function, you can go under policies and add in a pre-written policy that way. And here's just some examples. If you were to look it up, they already have some managed ones that are in there. And so I didn't really want to do that. Okay, SAM connectors. Let's see. You can simplify permission management between serverless components using SAM connectors. Ah, again, not everybody wants to write IAM and go really deep in there. So there's some simplifying things that this does. And so let's kind of go on down. Let's see if it really is simplified. So basically, if you have some resource, you can have a connector that connects it to something. I don't know if it looks that simple so far, but when you see it, it'll hopefully make sense. So in our get all items function, rather than the way that we were doing permissions, we could just say connectors. We could have, now if you're interacting with a DynamoDB table without knowing things about IAM, you could just learn a different syntax, that says things like um, you want to be able to read the sample table. Um, so you could copy and paste that in there where you had your um, policies and just replace that. So they're just saying that you could consider, if you think about it for a while, it's actually not that bad. I believe that this is a name that you would make up yourself. Uh, and so you could do this over and over and over again with connectors. You make up some variable name. The properties are you're going to connect to this real resource in AWS that has a name, and the permissions to that is read. And so there's a couple. There's read, write, probably delete, update, I think, are the four ones. So technically that is a little bit simpler. So you can do, oh, so here's the other examples. So sample table read, sample table write. So it's not that bad. So rather than, let's just kind of go back up again and see what our alternative was. So we could have done, so you can do this, although that doesn't look that bad to me. Probably doesn't look that bad to you. So yeah, you could have written it that way. Read policy, blah, 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 blah. So instead of doing that, you could instead do this, connect this item to that item. Eh, yeah. And they both basically accomplish the same thing. All right, let us go ahead and see if we can clean stuff up. And this is probably going to be a bear. This says, run this, which will delete all of your CloudFormation stacks. Ooh, all right. Well, let's see if that will work. If so, that's going to be awesome. All right, I'm going to come into here and I'm going to paste and see what happens. I'm actually really grateful that they gave you this service. Can't remember. Is this hanging or am I supposed to wait? I think it's just hanging. I honestly can't remember. Let me just double check it. Run the following script, which is going to delete all your CloudFormation stacks. I mean, yeah, that's what it says. It's actually, so it should get through a lot of them. However, if we want to look at what it says inside, let's just kind of show you something. It says, here's all the stacks that it's going to try to delete. The one stack that it's not going to delete then is the one that we called SAM app 2. So fortunately, all kinds of other stuff will get deleted. Let's just kind of see, let's just go through CloudFormation first. So we have all of these things listed here, and we want to delete all of them. And if everything's going right, this thing should do that. Let me just test it real quick and make sure it works, then I'll let you know if there's any problems. Okay, I want to note that I'm over here and ooh, I could swear like a second ago it said that it was deleting um, different things that were out here. I don't know what just happened. Like this, so this one says like delete in progress. So this script appears to be working. I want to fix a couple of other things while I'm at it. So let's see. I was working in GitHub, so let's go ahead and just destroy the token that I was working with. So I'm going to go down here because I showed it for the whole world to see and go under developer settings and personal access token. And I'm going to say get rid of that. Yes, goodbye token. No more code pipeline. Okay, another thing that I want to do is I want to go over to IAM, and I had created an administrator that I also showed you their credentials for. So I'm going to delete that. Sam admin. Then I will go back to CloudFormation. And of the things that I made today, uh, let's see, CLI manage dev pipeline resources. Let's just see if that was also included. CLI dev, CLI manage dev pipeline resources. So that one looks like it's going to go as well. Uh, so hopefully that will disappear in the near future. Let's see if I can kill this one off as well. So I will click delete. Yes, delete stack. So delete initiated. And I think that's it. So assuming that all goes well, the script should continue to delete everything that was in this list. And if it doesn't work, then I will just go in there and manually delete that. If you've stuck with me this far, you are crazy or you're amazing. Hopefully, what I did helped you to get through this. I wish you a fantastic rest of your day. Bye.